Well, the last garden on our tour today is at the home of Bill and Trish Houston. And Bill and Trish are two of our OBGA ambassadors, and they've been gracious enough to show us around their beautiful yard. And thank you very much for doing this. I know that our viewers are going to want to see your yard.
Thank you.
So,
we're glad to have you.
Well, first off, you have this very nice courtyard area, and if you could just explain why you built this and some of the features that are here. Trish, you want to
go? We built this, of course, for dining. We eat out most evenings, some breakfast, and we wanted to have a water feature. And Bill designed this, so I need to let him explain it. We really enjoyed it very much.
We just made a very small pool for goldfish and water plants, and also just to make a little bit of noise that is interesting when you're sitting out here.
It's a nice soothing sound. It kind of makes it feel cooler out here, doesn't it?
Yes.
In Oklahoma, that's nice.
Well, in addition to this courtyard area, your garden is kind of a series of small rooms or spots, isn't it?
That was sort of the idea that we started with.
Now, did you do this all at once, or was it a long process?
A long process.
How many years have you been working on this?
We've been at this about 8 to 10 years.
Okay, so it's not an instant thing, but
not at all.
It's always in flux. Well, let's take a look at some of the rest of your gardens.
All right,
and
let's go ahead.
Now, this garden, you were telling me, this is kind of where it all started out, right?
Yes.
So, now this is a perennial garden that stretches around the entire yard?
It's in a horseshoe shape. We started here. There were many more trees than there are now, so it's changed pretty dramatically when we first started. And the moles, I think this is their main colony. They love this garden.
They keep it well worked up.
Well worked up. It's very difficult to fight the moles, but these plants have all seemed to be very tolerant.
Now, what are some of your favorite plants in here?
Well, I think throughout the garden we've used a lot of the red pygmy barberry, which it's a terrific plant for the color. Of course, it's very difficult on the fingers when you're pruning, but we do love the color. This is the phlox Miss Lingard, and it is mildew resistant, and we have it throughout the garden, and it is somewhat tolerant of shade, which is good. This is a sedum meteor, and it blooms a hot pink rather than the autumn joy in the fall. Then I have old-fashioned hollyhocks, old-fashioned hesperus, and then of course we love these petunias are very heat tolerant. I can't remember their variety, Bill. Do you?
I don't remember.
But I buy them every year. I just can't remember what variety they are. But they're very heat tolerant. And we love the salvias, the dark blue salvias. I grow both annuals and perennials of almost all varieties.
So you basically, these are perennial beds, and then you fill in little spots with some annual color.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, let's take a look at some of the other perennials that you've got planted around here. And you were mentioning you have things repeated all around the garden, and that's actually a very good design concept, isn't it?
Yes, and often not repeated as often as we'd like. In this part of the garden, we continue with repeating some of the plants, perennials you saw in the earlier part of the garden. The phlox is in bloom this time of year. This is phlox alpha. We again have Miss Lingard and David, which is a little bit later blooming phlox and much taller.
Now, you've chosen these phlox because of their mildew resistance?
Yes, and I understand there's varieties now that are even more mildew resistant. So again, over time, I'll probably replace these phlox with a better variety, what's available. As we continue, one of our favorite things in the garden, I love to use lime green and gray. And this is Palace Castle Artemisia, the wonderful ferny Artemisia. We have Sol Diego, the goldenrod. Goldenrod gets a lot of bad publicity.
It does.
But it's a wonderful garden plant, very tolerant of heat, and the bees and butterflies love it. This dahlia is an interesting one. It's Hyperium. It has a lemon scent,
Oh, really?
and it's most daylilies are hybridized from that one. So that's why I have that particularly in the garden. Many of your viewers will love Coreopsis moonbeam just like we do, but it's a very heat tolerant, very colorful plant throughout the heat of the summer. And a plant that I learned about from OBGA that I love is Scaviola, the blue fan flower. It's from Australia, very heat tolerant, and I think we'll be growing a lot more of that in the garden. It's
Well,
nice, low.
It looks nice with your yellow combination there.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now I noticed that you've kind of continued the horseshoe effect around here, and it's basically a mirror.
Yes, that's what we intended when we put this together, that these two portions would be the same.
Well, it's very nice, and it makes a nice backdrop here for your garden, and also a nice view from your front porch there.
Thank you.
And another nice effect that I see that you've done is you've got a hint of something. It's like a little room over there, and we see a fence, but you can't quite tell what's over there, and maybe we should go take a look at that.
Sure, let's go.
Now this is a wonderful little fenced-in area. What do you use this for, Trish?
Use this for a cutting garden and to start seeds for the regular garden. And it's pretty empty now because most things have been moved out. But Bill built this. It was quite a engineering feat because it's built on a slant, and it doesn't look, of course, slanted.
Well, I really like the unique gate closers here, Bill. Where did you get that idea?
That's from Williamsburg, the old cannonball weight that they used to open their gates with. And I just had to have them, so.
Well, it's neat, and it's very functional, too.
Yeah, very much.
Yes.
Now, this area out here that we're walking into is the newest area of your garden, is that
Yes.
right?
That's right. This used to be a lawn, and the lawn got to be so much trouble that we decided to take it up and put a oval in the middle. This is the first year for that, so most of the plants are not very mature.
Well, it's very pretty, and I've noticed that we've got taller plants around the outside, and
Yes.
then you've gone with the shorter plants in the middle here. And that's a nice effect.
We tried to. Some of these are getting a little taller than we planned on, but
Be part of that, moving them around. So now this
Relocating.
is, right now it's in the shade. Is this in the shade all day?
no, it does. Most of this area has a little bit of sun, probably 2 hours or a little bit.
Well, then more in the late afternoon.
Yeah. But it's amazing how many plants in Oklahoma that are sun plants grow in part shade, and a lot of shade.
Now, around the outside of your yard, then you've got quite a bit of shade because you've left a lot of the trees and it's more
Yes.
overgrown. And what was the idea behind that area of your yard?
Well, we haven't finished the garden yet, and so some of these areas are just natural ground cover, and we're just waiting to develop those into some tree areas, and we have a bird sanctuary. Some of the areas we just haven't developed, but we have a lot of ground cover, help cut down on maintenance, hopefully. Virginia creeper, English ivy, a lot of hosta, vinca major, vinca minor, ajuga.
Ajuga.
I can't
And
think of
mondo.
mondo grass. We use a lot of mondo grass.
And you've also got some ferns planted in here.
Yes, we do. We've discovered some ferns that are drought tolerant, or at least they will live through the winters in Oklahoma, and they don't just flop in the summer. Those are all lady ferns that we've grown in this garden. I have another variety, sword fern, a particular variety of sword fern that's drought tolerant. So those have been super. But Bill puts rings around them for when the temperature's in the 100 and we really get drought, then we can fill those rings to help them live through the summer.
Fill them with water.
Yes.
Yes.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, they do great. And they don't spread so much. They stay fairly contained, which is a nice thing about the rings also. I was trying to think if there's anything, again, this is a repeat of the other gardens. A lot of the David Austin roses that are mildew resistant, mold tolerant, etc. And this is a Coreopsis agreed That's a great heat-tolerant plant and has a pretty color and lots of rutabacia. So basically, it's again repeating the theme from the other gardens into this garden.
Well, it all ties together very nicely, and it makes for a nice walk around the yard.
Thanks.
And I really appreciate you taking us on this walk today, and I'm sure that the viewers have too. So thank you for showing us around.
Well, thank you for coming.
We've enjoyed it.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.